Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby, and welcome back to World of Tanks. And the second season of personal missions has now been underway for the last few weeks. And if you've been around on this channel for a while, you know that I absolutely loved the first set of personal missions that Wargaming added in back in the day now, at the January 2015. It's taken them 3.5 years to get round to this one. Now, why did I love the first set of personal missions so much? Well, it just added so much more reason to play the game for me. Sometimes you get into that kind of vibe of you're just playing the same old thing and you don't really have some objectives. Once you've unlocked your tanks, you've got them fully upgraded, maybe you've got some great crews on them. What more is there to do? Well, it's quite fun to actually try and do missions inside your favorite tanks, and it gives you more reason to play your favorite vehicles. You get to unlock new vehicles as well by progressively completing harder and harder missions in the operations, for at least the first operation. You got the Stug 4, you got the T-28 concept, the T-55A for the really adventurous of you, and the most dedicated could eventually unlock the Object 260. And still, after 3.5 years, I haven't fully managed to complete all of the missions with honors. Look, I still need 4 for the T-55A, and I still need to do a lot to be able to get the Object 260. I haven't even completed the 5th mission for the self-propelled gun with honors by the looks of it. And so definitely a lot of content that Wargaming added in for, in my opinion, a very low amount of effort and very few tanks they actually have to give. Think about how many premium tanks we get in World of Tanks. Probably about 2 or 3 a month, I'd say. Obviously at various different tiers. Imagine if they just hadn't released premium vehicles for a month or 2. They could have given us a whole extra set of personal missions maybe a year or 2 ago. But who knows? Maybe this is going to be a turn of the leaf. And Wargaming are going to make a habit of extending it out and giving us more operations. Hopefully on like a 6-month or at least a yearly cycle. However, let me tell you that this set of personal missions, there's been quite a few things that I do not like about it. And I'm going to explain that here. So firstly, let me talk about the release of each of these 3 vehicles. Wargaming has decided to stagger them. So they've staggered them by 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks of only being able to unlock the Excalibur, and then 3 weeks later the Chimera unlocks, but only for those of people who have managed to unlock the Excalibur in the first place. And now we're in this intermission period where we've got 3 weeks between the Chimera to also being able to get the Object 279E. Now, why are Wargaming doing this? Well, they're doing this because I guess they've got this idea that people are going to rush through the missions as quickly as they possibly can because they absolutely can't wait to get their hands on those tanks and maybe also the female crew members. But what is absolutely bizarre is that Wargaming's communication has been completely horrific on this matter. Did you know that if you pressed your settings key or alternatively your escape key and you go to combat intelligence right now on the EU garage, there is actually something called the Chimera Strikes. You might have seen this popping up. And this tells you that you've got 18 days, 8 hours, 0 minutes and 30 seconds, which is actually ticking down, which is pretty scary, and seeing time slip away there, right? For a special is going to end. All right. What's the special? Well, let's click the Read More tab. Oh, okay, we're here now. What's it going to tell us? Okay, a video, a 15-minute long video that basically tells me how to play the tanks. Second front, okay, starting from the 19th, whatever. It tells me more about the tank. How can I get it? Okay. Now it tells me a million of the different missions, which I could have found out in the garage anyway. And it doesn't really tell me. 2 very important details. Firstly, what is the special? Will I be able to unlock this tank again after that timer runs out? Is this like a time-limited thing? And also, secondly, what is this special? What do I actually get in this time limit? Well, I actually had to contact Wargaming for this, and I found out that you get a special badge inside your service record if you manage to unlock the tank within your time limits. You're going to get one of those kind of special badges down here. And so I presume that I must have missed this. I have been playing a lot of World of Warcraft recently, and for anyone out there who has already managed to unlock the Excalibur, you have a special badge. However, then I realized to myself, I haven't exactly been slacking playing World of Tanks in the last 3 weeks as well. I've been playing quite actively. And how many of the missions have I managed to complete? Well, I've nearly bashed my way through most of the Alliance missions, as we can see here, 11 out of 15. And that's because I've been playing through the Polish tech tree recently. And you know me, I love my British and my American tanks. I did an American tech tree showcase a couple of weeks ago. But look at my progress for the Coalition. Yeah, not so good. Oh, wow. Doesn't look like I've been playing many German or Japanese tanks. And 3 out of 15 of the Union. I've been playing for about 23 days. And remember, I play World of Tanks about 15 hours a week, which is not a small amount of time. And so I would really question how in hell's name we were meant to be able to unlock the Excalibur within that 3-week period to be able to actually get that badge. Now, there are some people who have done it, obviously very dedicated players. And you know what, I think if I'd probably been playing this game about 40-45 hours a week and I'd really been focused on those missions and not just playing the game and having fun, I probably could have managed it. But I would have to be ultra dedicated. And so I thought, how can I find out how many people have actually unlocked the Excalibur so far? And so I went on good old trusty VB Addict and I took a look at how many games that the Excalibur has been played in the last 30 days. Because obviously that's going to show us how many of these tanks roughly have been unlocked. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there have been 262 games played in the Excalibur worldwide in the last 30 days. And hands up, I managed to get this tank at Gamescom, so I think at least 10 of those are mine. So that would probably suggest to me that there's maybe only about between 2 to possibly 20 people out there who have actually managed to unlock the Excalibur in the world in these last 3 weeks. Wow, Wargaming. I think you seriously missed the ballpoint with the time that you thought that people were going to take to unlock this. And it's no wonder why. Do you know why? Well, because of this absolutely outrageous, disgusting grind that you have to do through each one of the missions. It's not skill-based. The first set of personal missions is nothing really to do with how good you are. Sure, if you're excellent, then you can manage to get through the missions quicker, but deal 3,500 damage to enemy self-propelled guns? Okay. Well, if I just rush in very, very, very aggressively in a light tank and try and farm those self-propelled guns, I might get about 1 a game. Self-propelled guns have about 350 hit points, so if I get lucky, sometimes there aren't even artillery in a game that I play. Well, I'm probably only going to get about 200 artillery hit points per game. And so it's going to take me 15 rounds of World of Tanks. It's going to take me at least a couple of hours to be able to complete this mission. And the more of them that I look at, the more that I realize that, yeah, it's going to take a good old while to be able to get through these missions. And so, in theory, to be able to unlock the Excalibur, you would have probably had to have played 30 hours, plus 30 hours, plus 30 hours, plus 30 hours, 120 hours of World of Tanks over that 3-week period, even if you were an exceptionally good player. That's pretty much a full-time job, and that's if you can be asked to actually complete these missions, because some of them are completely horrendous. For example, Mission 2 on the Alliance side is artillery-based. They are forcing you to play an artillery, but not just any artillery. Remember, because the missions are locked to different nations, you have to play a British or an American artillery. And what's even worse for a nation like this, that there are artillery missions for French tanks as well. Look at this is absolutely insane. Okay, French tanks, Czech tanks, Swedish tanks, or an Italian tank as well. And if we click on the second mission, it wants you to deal 40 crits to the enemy team. But look, if you want to complete the secondary objective as well, you have to stun 2 vehicles with 1 shot. Wargaming, you're basically telling us that we have to play French artillery if we want to complete this with honors. There is no but, no option at all. Play your French artillery. And what's absolutely idiotic about this is that French artillery don't even have big splashes, so the likelihood that you're going to be able to splash 2 tanks on the enemy team are ludicrous. It's driven me to the point where I'm actually loading premium rounds in my Bat Chatillon 155-55 just to be able to get this mission done. And I just gave up because I couldn't really be bothered to continue to play artillery, especially when I'm streaming. And so what's incredibly frustrating for me is Wargaming have effectively taken something which used to be fun. The first set of personal missions, in my opinion, were fun. You kind of thought to yourself, alright, today I want to play some light tanks. Let's get through my light tank missions. And all of the missions are suggestible for light tanks. However, with this new set of personal missions, it's higgledy-piggledy all over the place. Firstly, for example, it looks like it wants you to play a heavy tank. But remember, it's an Italian heavy tank, a Czech heavy tank, of those two which don't exist. So your only option now is to either have a Swedish heavy tank or a French heavy tank if you truly want to progress quickly through this mission. The third mission requires you to get a lot of kills, so you're probably going to want to play a tank destroyer. The fourth mission wants you to actually spot or destroy tracks, so you better have a French light tank for that, right? Wargaming are evidently trying to get you to unlock lots and lots and lots of different tanks through lots and lots and lots of different nations if you want to be able to complete this operation successfully. It is no longer enough to just really enjoy playing a single light tank, to feel an affinity with a certain tank destroyer, to have your heavy tank that you just absolutely go to when everything in your life is going wrong and you just want to go in and just duke it out with somebody in some kind of Mortal Kombat. Or even for the self-propelled gun players out there, people who just want to go through that wing of the personal missions, which you could do in Season 1. Now it's just all over the place, and it's just so contrived. They're just forcing you to unlock loads of different tanks in loads of different places, and for me that's no problem, right? For me that's absolutely fine and dandy. I've got 528 tanks in my garage. Do you think it's any skin off my nose if I need to play a British tank destroyer, or if I need to play the obscure Swedish line or the Italian line or the Polish line or even the Japanese line? It's no problem to me. I'm just thinking about all of the players out there that maybe, you've got like 10 or 20 tanks. You just got those ones that you really enjoy. You kind of got no chance. But by far, the most frustrating thing for me, ladies and gents, was the fact that the second set of personal missions for the Chimera actually look quite fun, because they're not grindy. They want you to have an exceptional game. So for example, the first mission on the Coalition line is that you have to destroy 3 enemy heavy or medium tanks and cause 2,000 damage to enemy vehicles. Well, that just sounds like a really good game. It's not going to happen every time, but it could happen in a single game. And for me, that's excitement. It's not grinding. It's not just logging into World of Tanks and putting my time in. It's like, let's go, let's do this. Try and hunt down that medium tank, that heavy tank, and another medium as well. It feels like it's more skill-based, and also not just skill-based, but just pure adrenaline. And this ranges all the way up to the most difficult of the missions, the one-man army, where your damage caused, including damage caused with your assistance, must total 10,000. That's a good game by any means. It's going to be a tricky one to get through. But boy, when you've done that, you're going to feel so pumped up. You're going to be feeling heroic. It's going to be like what we had with the first season of personal missions. Not this boring grind. Not this absolute drivel that we have with the Excalibur. And the most thing that really annoys me is that you can't skip it. Wargaming are literally forcing you to spend, if you're a good player, 120 hours, and if you're an average to mediocre player, probably about 240 hours of grinding through the Excalibur to be able to unlock the Chimera. That's brutal, ladies and gents. That's absolutely brutal. My suggestion is to Wargaming, look, you've completely failed with your release of this content. You've messed up with expecting how long it's going to take even very good and active players to get through the first set of missions, and now you're locking the skill-based, fun and attractive missions that I think everybody would at least like to have a go at behind a complete monotonous time wall grind. There's no other way to say it. It's just a really poor oversight. And what's depressing is they've taken possibly one of the most fun aspects of the game, at least for me, and turned it into something that I just feel that I have to slog through to be able to eventually get to a little bit of an enjoyment, if I'm still going to be able to enjoy personal missions by the time that I get there. And so Wargaming have got two possible options. One, they could try and salvage this release of personal missions by just going back and frankly doing it again. Alternatively, they could just say you can start the Chimera grind now because we've really underestimated the amount of time that it would take to get through the Excalibur, and also the amount of players who were ever going to be able to do it. Probably about 10 players worldwide have had no life enough to be able to get through that tank. And if either of these are not an option, then just learn from it, Wargaming. And when you do your third season of personal missions, please listen to this feedback. Don't take one of the best aspects of your game and turn it into a very obvious drive for you to encourage players to unlock more and more and more tanks. Stop taking away the reasons why we love the game and put them behind either grindy, horrible features or alternatively huge paywalls. But I don't know, maybe I'm really missing the mark here. Ladies and gents, have you managed to unlock the Excalibur already? How many of the missions have you managed to get through? And how many hours do you think you've managed to put through it? Do you kind of agree with what I'm suggesting here, or do you think that I'm being completely irrational? I'll be really interested to hear what you all have to say in the comments below. And so that's it for today. It's Friday. It's going to be late when this one goes out. I saw something I wanted to talk about again, and hopefully this also saves some people a lot of time and disappointment if they maybe were taking a look at the Object 279 or the Chimera and thinking that it was an easy thing to be able to get through. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, make sure you give it a thumbs down. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.